Hello everyone, my name is Jamie Conway. I'm a regenerative systems researcher working with the Qatuan Sustainable Development Network and its governance arm, QAIB, the Quantum Archaeoastronomy Institute of Brazil. QAIB provides the operational framework and governance structure that links all of our projects together. We work in live field conditions, we measure performance before scale, and we establish governance before expansion. Our systems operate with ecological processes, not against them, and everything we design is measurable, testable, and refinable. A little while ago, a question emerged in the ERA group. How can MRV be embedded within regenerative practice? What I'm about to show you is our field response. As part of a wider project, we developed a live community development field. We tested regenerative theory in real conditions with a community of about 10,000 people. Where systems failed, we adapted. Where they worked, we stabilized. The place that emerged from that process is now known as Savannah. But this didn't begin with Savannah, it began with a structural failure. So why did we build it? Because regeneration keeps failing for the same structural reasons. We kept seeing the same pattern. Responsibility is fragmented. Lots of actors, nobody owns the whole system. Technical fixes get installed, but they're not integrated into a living structure. Measurement shows up after things go wrong, as reporting or compliance, instead of being designed in from the beginning. And projects scale before they're stable. That's when it clicked. Structure has to stabilize before action can scale. The first stabilizing response wasn't technology, it was governance. Before improving systems, we had to define three things. Who is accountable for the performance, how decisions are made, and what success actually looks like. Through the Regenera campaign, it became clear that social governance needs a physical anchor. For us, that anchor began as a place called Sha'e, our first live prototype site. As the governance pattern stabilized, Sha'e evolved into what is now Savannah. The structural logic of Savannah revealed the second stabilizing response. Governance clarified responsibility, structural logic clarified function. We realized something simple. Before people can design the future, they have to stabilize the present. Conversations about spaceships or complex decentralized systems only make sense once the basic metabolism works. Waste, water, resource leakage. So we started with what was tangible. Waste disposal. Or better, waste discovery. Or even better, a business opportunity. Structural logic is simply this: rearranging relationships so that loss becomes function. Once structural logic was clear, we had to make it transferable. That's where pattern to practice comes in, the third stabilizing response. Because it's not enough to have a system that works once in one place. We needed a translation layer, one that allows the same logic to move between contexts. So this framework was written not as a theory, but as operational practice. Governance defines responsibility, structural logic defines function, pattern to practice defines repeatability. That completes the triad, the architecture that turns field learning into repeatable practice. With the architecture in place, the next step is cyclical practice. Governance becomes visible when flows are measured. At that point, we stop designing in isolation. We align our practices with open scientific frameworks, particularly the NASA Globe protocols, so that what we measure locally can be understood globally. We teach what we practice, and we practice what we can measure. When a community understands its flows and measures them coherently, regeneration stops being a slogan and becomes a measurable discipline. As we've seen, regeneration isn't a slogan, it's a sequence. Governance, structure, translation, measurement, discipline. All of this is documented in our regenerative resource library. Ananda has the link for follow-up access, so what I'd like to do now is briefly show you a few of the tools that we use in practice. We can't stabilize what we don't understand. Before we build regenerative water systems, we build competence. At Qatuan, water is the first entry point. The foundation we use is the open access AVAG Sanitation MOOC series. It provides a globally validated starting point, structured, rigorous and accessible. We use it because it's repeatable and technically sound. Clear responsibility requires shared intelligence, so governance extends into measurement. The NASA GLOBE protocols provide a globally standardized framework for observing air, water, soil and phenology. We use them because they train accuracy, they build scientific memory, and they allow what we measure locally to be understood globally. At Qatuan, they form the basis of our field observation plate and our monitoring stations. We adopted GLOBE because it gave us a reliable way to measure correctly without relying on expensive external laboratories. When measurement becomes accessible, it becomes cultural. Structure only holds when people hold it, so literacy becomes the foundation. This plate turns scientific protocols into daily practice. It builds shared language across youth, visitors and field teams. It strengthens memory and attention, and for us it supports long-term environmental monitoring in our field lab system, alongside the people we work with. Literacy becomes real when it touches soil, water and waste. This is where theory turns into hardware. Our Arduino-based station measures temperature, humidity, light and soil moisture, forming the first layer of our long-term environmental archive. It's affordable, open source and replicable. When people build and maintain their own instruments, measurement stops being abstract. It also teaches patience. It becomes shared responsibility. And shared responsibility reduces operational dependence and increases local ownership. Regeneration doesn't happen through one institution acting alone. It emerges when multiple layers of intelligence align around the same landscape. At Savannah and VQ, we built the field first. Measurement, literacy, technical capacity, community participation. When those layers stabilize, something shifts. Dependence reduces, institutional capacity emerges. When those layers align, feedback stabilizes the system. What is measured can adapt, and what adapts can endure. A community that understands its flows can regenerate itself indefinitely. Measurement is not compliance, it is evolution. The thing that we experience through this development process is that at a certain point, capacity formalizes, not as a badge, but as a framework for continuity. Discipline matures into institutional capacity. The principle is simple. Measure locally, validate with simple field methods, use lightweight digital tools, and give communities sovereignty over their own data. That is the foundation, as we have found it so far, of an embedded MRV system. I'm Jamie Conway. Thank you for your time.